everybody. Thank you for joining us once again with Tech Safe. We're here today with episode 37. My name is Cece Doucette, and I am the Director of Massachusetts for Safe Technology, as well as the Education Services Director for our nonprofit Safer Tech Education, formerly known as Wireless Education. So thank you again for being with us, and thank you to our gracious hosts here at WCCA TV in Worcester, Massachusetts. I am honored today to bring you a husband and wife from New Mexico. We have Arlene Sanchez and Kevin I just did this. Kevin Lorenzen. My apologies on that. So with that, I would like to introduce Kevin and Arlene and share their story of how they came to know about wireless radiation. So Kevin and Arlene, welcome.
Thank you, Cece.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Okay. So please share with us how you first came to know that wireless radiation was something we needed to pay attention to.
Sure. So about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit beyond that, Arlene was driving her car one day, and it's a hybrid, and she stopped it, got out of the car, and called me and said, there was something wrong with this car. She goes, I literally cannot be in this car driving it because my brain is burning and I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And when I'm in the car, I feel bad. When I get out of the car, I feel better. So we had already seen a few things going on. She worked for a large tech company and was already having some issues, but that kind of really set the bar for her being impacted and us understanding that we had to do something. So we started doing quite a bit of investigation, just reading, basically doing a Google search and asking, what happens when you're driving a car and you're getting affected this way? And that's how we started to learn about technology and its impact on people. We understand that car had proximity sensors literally at every single corner. It had a distance sensor in front of the vehicle, giving off a radio frequency emission, right? There was radiation coming off that vehicle in all directions. And then Arlene practically was sitting on top of a gigantic battery for the vehicle as well. So all of that tech around her, her cell phone, the connections within the vehicle itself, and then all of the RF being emitted from literally every single area around the car had an impact on her. We didn't know it at the time, but we started to figure that out. And fortunately, we literally were able to discover that and start making changes within about 6 months, which we understand for most people who are affected by this, it's kind of light speed in terms of coming to that diagnosis. It was further verified by a naturopath or functional medicine doctor who said, yes, you absolutely have EHS, and here's what we have to do to fix it. So that started our journey a couple of years ago.
Wow, that is just incredible. And, everybody's pushing innovation and new technology and trying to get into energy conservation, but they're not looking at the biological effects of all of this. And I hear what you say with your vehicle. We've been hearing reports too. People in the Tesla community are saying, wow, I don't feel good inside my Tesla. My husband was kind of a gearhead, and he loves cars. So when the first trucks were coming off the assembly line for the new battery-operated vehicles, he signed up. And when they brought the test vehicle by our home and we measured it, the vehicle wasn't even on. And we were getting readings of like 40,000 microwatts per square meter. And in the scientific literature, on a meter like this one that was recommended at the EMF medical conference, the scientific literature wants us to be at 10 microwatts or less, and that vehicle, that electric truck, was operating at 40,000, and the vehicle wasn't even turned on. That was, as you say, just reading those sensors from around. So, Arlene, we're so sorry you were injured by that vehicle. What did you do to work through that and reduce your exposures?
Oh, our house is totally different, isn't it, Kev?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have changed everything about the house and everything about the sanctuary that you, as much as you can make your house a sanctuary, right? We've tried to do that. Kevin, can you list everything? I can't remember all of them that we did, but it's been quite a bit, right?
Yes, it has. We we have that same meter that you just showed, Cece. We also have electric meters, magnetic meters. We have dirty electricity meters. So my background's actually engineering, so I'm happy to use these meters. But it's critical in determining what were some of the dangerous areas. So unfortunately, we were in the process of doing some remodeling in our house. So areas that were very, very high in terms of dirty electricity or having electrical or magnetic fields, a lot of those areas we were able to rewire. We got completely rid of every single smart device that we possibly could. So no Ring, no thermostats any longer. We tried to remove every one of those devices that we possibly could. We wired our house, basically 6 of the rooms now with Ethernet. So we got rid of our Wi-Fi router. We went to a wired modem and router, set that up. We got rid of the decked phones that were in the house. And now we actually have old school wired landlines. So we've done just about everything that we can in order to try to improve those areas. We have filters in certain sockets throughout the house, which are helping to reduce or eliminate the dirty electricity. And then we literally have about 40% of the breakers in our house are permanently turned off. We just don't use them at all. The oven, we have a really nice double oven that hasn't been used now in 2 years. That breaker's turned off. Breakers in several of the rooms are turned off because we just don't need to utilize those lights or those particular areas. So that helps reduce a lot of the electrical and magnetic fields that were impacting Arlene, dirty electricity. So we've made our house very, very clean electrically, magnetically, and literally we have eliminated all RF emissions within the house.
Well, that is fantastic. And like you say, you've only been on this journey for 2 years. And to have figured it out so quickly, relatively quickly, I know it didn't feel quick at the time when Arlene was suffering in those early days. But it sounds like you've been able to create not only a sleep sanctuary, but a whole house sanctuary. And for somebody who's electrically sensitive, that's really what it takes. I know with this particular safe and sound meter, one of the features on it that people who are electrically sensitive appreciate is that it's got a little plug-in on the bottom. And you can plug this in and leave it running. So if a friend or somebody comes into your house, you will know immediately. If that meter is on, you will know immediately if there's an exposure about to happen and try and nip that in the bud before it happens. So, well, bravo to you guys. So, Arlene, how has this electrical sensitivity impacted your day-to-day life?
Well, it's pretty dramatic. Everything about my life 3+ years ago is definitely different. Kevin said it perfectly. It felt like, Cece, I had the symptoms, but I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know this was even a thing. So though the symptoms were in my body, it did seem like that day Kevin described in my car, it did seem like I hit a wall. It seemed like my body hit, I don't know if it's called toxic load. I don't know what the experts call it, but like I just crashed. I couldn't pick up a phone. I couldn't drive my car. And then the immersion into what is this happened. And then we made our life safe. So by making our life safe, it also made me so sensitive. I'm so sensitive and have an enormous amount of pain. So the obvious is the health implications that impact your life. I haven't left the house in Kev, almost 3 years.
3 years.
I literally don't leave the house. Some people go to, get groceries and do things like that. I don't. I just don't leave the house. So that's the obvious one. I don't know. Kevin is in sales and he wins trips. I think I've missed maybe 10 vacations, including our son's, also special occasions like our son's wedding and our first grandson's birth. And I mean, there's obvious big milestone life events that happen that, you miss. Unless I get unsensitive, or when I get unsensitive or desensitized, I won't be able to keep a job, obviously. and I loved my work and what I did. So, your life is just a very, very different. Everything about what you used to have is different. You don't choose this. You don't choose this by any means. There's no way you could possibly make this stuff up. But a lot of people, their jaw drops when they find out about it. And it's so real, but people it's hard to believe. We just did an article with our local paper, and the response that you get from a lot of people is, there's no way the government would allow this, right? There's no way that they would let people suffer like this, or that they would allow cell phones to be so, bad for people and all these towers. But it's almost.
And I think, you mentioned just briefly about work, but Arlene worked in the tech industry for nearly 25 years at a very high level position at a large tech company, and literally had to go on disability. So she is now on permanent disability until she's able to desensitize, until she's able to get healthy enough to be able to go out into the public again, because she really can't use a computer. Almost anything that she needs to do, she can't do it because of the way everything is set up, right? If you want to access your say, for instance, any one of your financial accounts, whether it's a bank account or anything, they're always asking for a verification code to go to your cell phone, text your cell phone. Everything requires texting these days, and almost none of it can be done by somebody who's sensitive like Arlene, because she just can't use the cell phone and really can't use the computer. So if you can't do a text, then they're asking to set it up for email verification. So again, you're getting on a device which is going to have a negative impact. So yes, Arlene's life, people don't think about it, but probably 95% of all that she used to be able to do has literally been stripped from her life. I mean, she can live in the house and she can, be out in our neighborhood, but even our neighborhood, we live on a 3-acre lot. Most of the homes where we live are, we're in the mountains, and they're all roughly 3 acres. So we're probably about 300 feet from the street. But when I walk out into the street, if I walk down to our neighbor's house, so in front of our next door neighbor, I can actually receive 8 different Wi-Fi signals in the middle of the street. At our house, we're pretty safe. There's really not any other signals coming in. But just walking down the street where you think it would be safe for somebody to go out, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the air, enjoy the environment, walking down the street, Arlene is impacted by 8 signals just about 300 or 400 feet from our house. Why does a cell signal from somebody's Wi-Fi router have to go 500 feet or more? Why does it have to go 1,000 feet?
Well, I actually had discovered from somebody not too long ago that the router that was put inside my home, I think Comcast was my carrier at the time with Xfinity, and not only did we have a 2.4 gigahertz antenna, it also had a 5 gigahertz antenna, and then it had a 2.4 gigahertz hotspot and a 5 gigahertz hotspot, plus a home security antenna. We didn't even have a wireless home security system.
It had all of those?
It had, that one router had all 5 of those. And what it was is they put those hot spots on there to throw signal out to the street so their customers can pick up signal as they go by. And that's using your electricity energy. So it's just, it's unconscionable on so many levels.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and I did the same thing. Once I got my meter, I was like, okay, where is it? It's like a scavenger hunt for the invisible microwaves, right?
Absolutely.
And I did the same thing, Arlene. I walked down my street and just went, wow, wow, wow. And then we think about people who live in, you and I are fortunate. We have our own homes. But the people who live in multi-unit dwellings like apartments and condos, I have a friend in a women's network I belong to, and she had come to our meetings. And when I first met her, I was like, I just really want to love this woman, but there's something a little bit off. And then the pandemic hit, and years later, when we all got back together again, she walked in the room and she was just glowing. Her energy was just so beautiful. And she came up to me and we got to talking, and she said, I had a brain tumor. And she's a real estate agent, and a lot of them have the cell phones up to the ear a lot. So she wound up during the pandemic getting this brain tumor taken care of, and I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense on why I couldn't get a good read on her.
Yeah.
But then every time she would come to our meetings, she would excuse herself and say, I'm sorry, I have to go home. My son has anxiety and he needs me to be there with him right now. And this happened time and again. And so I was invited to be our guest speaker at our meeting. And so she learned about wireless education and the impact on neurotoxicity and other biological effects. And so she came to me at one of the meetings and she said, when I'm in my condo and I turn on my cell phone, I can see like 40 other people's Wi-Fi on there. So she said, I'm going to move and I'm going to get my own home. And she did. And the next meeting that she came back to, it had been a couple of months, and she said, you know what, my son, who's 15 and who is so crippled with anxiety that he couldn't stand to be away from his mother for any length of time, she said he woke up the other day and said, you know what, Mom, I am just done with this. I'm done with the anxiety. I'm moving on. And I said, Anastasia, you gave him a clean living environment in which his body could take a break and finally start doing the cell repair and regeneration. So,
What a story.
having all those people's signals around us, it's boggling my mind. And like you say, when you start talking about this issue, well, if it were unsafe, we would know about it, or our government would not allow that to happen. Well, come to find out through a wonderful report from Harvard called Captured Agency, how the Federal Communications Commission is run by the industries it presumably regulates. So we don't have anybody looking out for us. We've got the fox watching the hen house.
Right.
So I am just, first of all, I'm in such awe that you're able to sit here with us today, and I know you can't stay on for very long because even the magnetic and electric fields are impacting you. So, you know, my heart goes out to you, and thank you for making that personal sacrifice today. But you guys have also taken your personal knowledge and you're trying to help others. Can you talk me through how you came to even get an article published in New Mexico this week?
Sure. So I belong to an organization here locally. It's called Economic Forum, and it's a group of business owners, business leaders in Albuquerque and throughout New Mexico. And the editor of the paper, the local paper, Albuquerque Journal, he's a member. So he attends, and he actually is fairly new to New Mexico. One of the other members who I've known for quite a long period of time, she was very interested in what was going on with Arlene and just what we all had discovered. So when the editor came on board, she introduced me to him and said, you need to hear his story. And so I explained it to him. And so it took a while. It's been about a year and a half, but many, many conversations. And then I actually met with a couple of the staff writers. We had lunch and went through it. And their jaws basically were dropped the entire time that we talked about it. Same thing. They had no idea that this was going on. And so just recently, the staff writer and photographer came to our house, spent about 4 hours interviewing me, Arlene, and then also a friend of ours whose 31-year-old son also had developed electromagnetic hypersensitivity, had fought it for 2 years as a young man, lost nearly half of his body weight, was down to literally four types of food that he could eat, and then unfortunately took his life. So the paper came, interviewed us, and they actually published the article just this week. So it came out on Monday. I also did a podcast with them last week on Wednesday. So we can make those links available to you, Cece, to provide to people. But that's really how it happened, is it was just through this organization and having an opportunity to meet this gentleman, talk to him once or twice a month about it. And he thought that it would be a great opportunity for the paper to bring this awareness to people. And they did. So again, the article came out this week on Monday. The paper said it has received a lot of positive feedback. We've also actually received emails back from the staff writer of people who had reached out to her with some suggestions. One of the gentlemen, I believe he came from one of the national labs here, recommended a screen room in order to provide protection because they use screen rooms in their technology to prevent signals getting either in or out of those specific rooms. So it actually has been really, really, I think the awareness now has started. So, and then I've also been able to give talks at a couple of different organizations here locally, and people, again, it's like their jaws drop. They have no idea. And we're here in New Mexico, so the show Better Call Saul started here. And so people who have watched it locally, they always thought that was just a thing, a made up thing, right? Like, oh, you mean that's a real thing? Like, yes, it is. I see my wife suffer because of it on a daily basis, but it's real. It affects people. It's affecting all of us, our plants, our animals. We just haven't really come to grips with it because it's a super inconvenient truth for people to think that their cell phones are damaging them, their children, their animals, and plants.
Well, my goodness, I am so grateful that you're doing all the right things, Kevin and Arlene, because we like to say, start where you are. You know, there's no silver bullet. There's no cavalry coming to fix this for us. So we all have to start where we are, and with, an open heart and good intentions, and not fear-based or threatening in any way, but keep the information coming forward. And to that end, at Massachusetts for Safe Technology, twice a month, we do 2 free public education webinars. So for anybody who's just coming into this conversation, please go out to Massachusetts for Safe Technology. And if you look on our events page, you will see the registration links. And I'm so honored that this coming month in July of 2024, Arlene and Kevin are going to be my co-hosts. So you'll have another opportunity to meet with them. I present the facts through a well-crafted slide presentation that helps us to quickly connect the dots on this issue. And then we open it up for questions and answers at the end. So bring your questions. We'll share what we know, and if we don't have the answers, we can certainly point you to resources where you can learn more. So please, everybody, go out to Massachusetts for Safe Technology at Safer Tech Education is the website that we're going to be relaunching shortly. We literally have a course designed that anybody in the world who speaks English can take in about a half an hour online. It can be used in the workplace to train all your employees. It can be used in your schools to train the mature students and the staff and the administrators. And it can be used in our municipalities so that our towns can quickly come up to speed on that. And it is a nonprofit, so we do have some overhead, so we charge a minimal fee. We will work with any company, we will work with any school. If the cost is not affordable, it's literally about the cost of a movie ticket. But we just want to get that information out to people as quickly as we can, because nobody should have to suffer the way that Arlene has. And bless you, Kevin, for standing by her, because this journey is lonely enough without having somebody under your own roof who loves you and cares for you and is there until the end. Now, I'm also heartened to hear that you have already connected with a functional medicine doctor. Most medical doctors have not been trained on how to recognize, diagnose, treat, and most importantly, prevent these electromagnetic illnesses. We now have the EMF Medical Conference 2021. There were credits available up until July of last year, and once that expired, Elizabeth Kelly, who ran that conference, she has taken the entire conference and put it online. Anybody today, healthcare practitioner or member of the public, can go out to EMF Medical Conference 2021 and learn from world-leading experts in science, medicine, building biology, and advocacy. And we talk about legal solutions and public policy solutions as well during that conference. So everybody, we have incredible resources. You could slot those lectures from the conference into your calendar and watch them at your leisure. But we just need your help in getting that information out. And we are so grateful to your local media for covering this, because too often we see censorship happen where either the advertisers or the owners of the stations are heavily tied to industry. And many are not reporting on this. But I like to say every day is a new day, and every day that we get to plant a seed with one person, then that's a good day. So that's what I would like to share for today. Kevin and Arlene, are there any closing words that you would like to share with others?
Yeah, the only thing I would say, Cece, is because I wish somebody had told me this. Well, we just didn't know it was even a diagnosis. But I would say if your body is having these early symptoms, to heed the signs that your body is smart and telling you about. Make your home a sanctuary, especially at night, so your body can rest. I would say just listen to your body and take your precautions early.
Thank you so much. Those are such words of wisdom there. And use the resources that are available. So, be gentle with ourselves, be gentle with others. If we go into crazy making mode, that ignites the amygdala, and whoever's on the receiving end of that can only go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. So we always want to go forth with the facts in a way that people can digest. So Arlene and Kevin, you are my heroes. Thank you so very much for being with us today, and we look forward to co-hosting the free public education webinars. I believe the next one is going to be on July 11th. It's a Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. New Mexico time. So thank you again for joining us today, and we wish everybody a tech-safe day.
Thank you, Cece. It's our pleasure.
Thank you for all you do, Cece.
All righty. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next
Bye-bye.
time. Bye-bye.
Okay.